On tonight's episode of Obscured Reality, join us as we line dance on over to the great state of Texas and take a look at the most recent cattle mutilations that have just popped up. Is there any correlation with historic cattle mutilation cases? Is there any relation to UFOs and aliens? Come along with us and take a look, and let's find out. Sit down, sit back, relax, and join us on our journey through obscured reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Welcome back to Obscured Reality. As usual, I'm your host, Mark, and your co-host, Stevie. How's it going?
Hello. Hello.
Oh,
What did we call them
man.
last night? Our little fuckers or something like that?
Yeah, you little obscured
Little-
fuckers. How you
little
doing out
obscure
there in
fuckers.
obscured land?
Good morning, bitches. Or actually, more like
Yeah.
good evening, bitches.
Are you talking to me? Hey,
Talking to them. Our lovable
have
little
you
friends.
ever tried buzzballs?
I have not, but I really would like to because there's a
So
chocolate one that looks kind of good.
that one is really good. I got 2 of those in the fridge.
Hey.
This one is the espresso martini. I've never tried it. It's, I will say, not as good as a real espresso martini,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
it's good.
It's good for a prepackaged espresso martini because I love
Yeah,
me
yeah,
some
yeah.
espresso martinis.
Yeah, it's not bad. So do I. It's
Okay.
not bad. But yeah, the one you're talking about, that chocolatey one, that's
Mm.
my favorite one. Well, I mean, other than this espresso one now, that's the only
Mhm.
one I've ever had. But that one's pretty good. It's like kind of like a mudslide in a way.
The last espresso martini that I had was actually at the Reserve in the Starbucks Reserve, like in Chicago. There's
Hmm.
only 3 of them in America. There's like Washington, D.C., Chicago, and of course, Portland. Oh my God. It was a $20 freaking espresso
Oh
martini.
man,
Bro, dude, it's because it was part of like their like limited edition release line that only they have at the like the reserves, and it
right?
has this like incredibly, it shouldn't be this good, but it's fucking delicious olive oil cold foam on it.
Hmm.
I know it's a thing to
Interesting.
put olive oil in your coffee. Like I know that's like the new
Yeah.
thing. Cause at first it was like put like plant-based, not plant-based, like grass-fed butter, like Kerrygold butter in your coffee to make it keto. I know that was a thing for a while. It was called bulletproof
uh,
coffee. But now it's olive oil. I shit you not. I shat on that whole idea until I tried that martini and I was like, I looked at Anthony, I was like,
pretty good.
"Oh my God." Yeah, like the 2 of us were like, "We need to go." We already spent a
Yeah.
shit ton of money downstairs in the cafe getting all the different coffees and all the different like things that they have at this bakery that they don't have at, the other ones.
Yep.
Because I'm kind of a Starbucks whore. I work 2 doors down from one and I have all their special limited edition release like
Back in the
tumblers.
day, my first job at a grocery store, when I'd go out pushing carts, we had a Starbucks right next door. Dude,
No.
I would have like, on a lot of days, I'd have like 2 frappuccinos a day.
Mm,
But I
I'm
was
sure they
also,
were
yeah, I was also going out surfing like every day and all that. So it was like, but man,
man,
yeah,
yeah, so yeah, they're also probably a lot cheaper at the time. Now it's like $8 for a fucking frap.
yeah, well, it's all
I don't even
relative,
get
kind
their
of, but
coffee normally. Like I do get their coffee from time to time. Ooh, excuse me, I have hiccups. But I usually get their refreshers, like the dragon fruit
yeah.
mango one. Oh, so good. I could drink that all day. I get the
Well, hey,
Trentas of them hoes.
what kind of alcoholic beverage do you think goes good with steak?
I
Beer?
think. Beer.
Okay.
Beer is a staple. If it's a nice steak and you're at like a really nice restaurant, I would say like a good sipping whiskey would go well,
Oh, okay. Okay.
like an old fashioned.
Yeah. What kind of alcohol do you think would go good with mutilated cattle?
Mm.
Hint,
For
hint.
that, mutilated cattle. So another steak. I will also have to pair this one with uh, a whiskey or an old fashioned, as it's just a different cut.
It definitely a different cut, as we're going to find out, because tonight we're talking about cattle mutilations, and we're not talking about any cattle mutilation. We're talking about the recent, within the last week or so, cattle mutilations in
Mhm.
Texas. Did you hear about this?
Yes, I have.
And we're going to go a little bit into the history of cattle
Mhm.
mutilation, because we can't just talk about this without
Yeah.
going a little bit in depth here. And if we have some time, we just might throw another one in with this, something that just came out yesterday. Some mysterious lights in Las Vegas. Guys, have you heard of this one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
You
that
know, doesn't
there's
surprise me.
yeah, and there's not much on that, so it's short, but we might hit that real quick.
Mm. Okay.
Because these are both recent events.
Yes.
So let's start out. I got this article from Fox News. The article was on April 25th. Yeah, you roll your eyes at Fox. Yeah, I agree. But here's the point: every single news agency
Yes.
has the article, so it doesn't really matter
Yeah, I
because
know.
I've read it.
I
I've
roll
read
my
it.
eyes at Fox because the whole Dominion lawsuit currently,
Yeah.
and then the quick expediting of not Sean, the other one, the other
I don't
Tucker,
know.
Tucker Carlson. Fuck
Oh
you.
yeah. Well, I read the article on a couple different sites, and it's literally almost word for word the
Word for
exact
word the
same
same.
article. So these are the title of the article was "Mysterious Deaths of Six Cattle in Texas Sparks UFO Fears. Something strange is happening." So I could not find the date exactly on when these events actually happened, but from what I gathered from the verbiage used in the article, it looks like it was about April 18th or 19th. That's what I'm getting from it. But either way, it's like super recent.
Hmm.
So, um, obviously took place in Texas. Several cattle were found dead. Their tongues were removed in three separate counties. This was Madison, Robertson, and Brazos County, Texas. Three different counties. We will, Madison from Robertson is approximately 50 miles. And I think Robertson from Brazos, I believe, is about 30 ish miles.
So a literal hop, skip, and a jump for somebody in an aircraft.
Well, yeah, but you're not doing this in an aircraft. I mean, 50
Well, I
miles isn't
mean,
far. You drive that quicker than you can fly that just because
unless
of
you're an
issues at
alien
the
and you don't
airport.
have a driver's license.
Well, then it doesn't matter where in the planet it
But I'm
is
just
because
saying,
they can go immediately.
I'm saying it's a very close area, so it's just like boop, boop,
Well,
boop.
yeah, yeah, they're very close. So, um,
Efficiency. I give them an A for efficiency.
yeah. Now, the news places here, they talked to a guy named Tim Doyle. He's the one who gives these quotes we're going to go over in a minute.
Mhm,
He's a lead investigator on the TV series UFO Seekers.
mhm,
He said he wasn't too surprised to hear that six cattle were found mutilated because, quote, cattle mutilations have been going on in depth since the 70s. Now, now, let me point out, he says in depth since the 70s. However, they've been going on much, much longer, over 100 years, over 200 years,
mm,
folks. It just animal mutilation, period.
mhm,
Okay, so let's keep that in mind. He shared a story about a guy named Gabe Valdez. He's a New Mexico State police officer who reportedly saw a UFO like object while investigating a case of mutilated cattle. Now, this is just a story he's giving. Okay, this has nothing to do with the recent ones.
Mhm.
He said in those cases from 1976, Gabe Valdez, the officer, he found evidence of a triangular shaped object landing near a cow. Then some type of tripods exiting this craft, and those tripods were anywhere from 28 inches to 4 inches in length. Um, Now, Gabe said in his investigation that these tripods that exited this UFO craft followed the cow for 600 feet before the cow finally fell dead. And these tripods had little tracks that they left on the ground. Gabe returned to the same incident site for a second time, found that these tracks had actually gone over his tire tracks. He was asked, has it ever been cults or kids? Has it ever been the simplest explanation? And Doyle replied, no, it's not cults or kids.
Mhm.
Even in the New Mexico caseload, which the FBI investigated, the FBI said it was just natural predators. Mr. Valdez, the police officer, said that the surgical cuts in which, uh, even then, the rectum and genitalia were removed from the cattle the same way they are now. So, back to the recent mutilations within the last week or two, we're talking tongues were removed, anal, rectum, and genitalia were removed, as well as some of the facial structure.
Mhm.
And just a warning for you guys out there, creep out warning, graphic content warning. I'm going to show you a couple pictures. These are not from the recent ones, but they describe exactly what happened in the last 2 weeks. I'll show
Let's
you in a
see
minute.
them.
In a minute. In a
Ah,
minute.
ah, ah. I
uh,
was so ready for
so
it.
So now back to the recent events here. The
Mhm.
Madison County Sheriff's Office released a statement last week saying on 2 of the 5 cows, a circular cut was made, removing the anus and the external genitalia. This circular cut was made with the same precision as the cuts noted around the jaw lines of each cow. The sheriff's office shared that there were no signs of a struggle and that the grass around one of the cows found at the ranch was undisturbed. No footprints or tire tracks were noted in the area. In addition, the other 5 animals were found with no signs of struggle or disturbance in the grass, no blood spill, no noticeable tracks. No predators or birds would scavenge the remains for several weeks after death. Investigators say the causes of deaths remain unknown and that other similar incidents have been reported across the country. So, no predators or birds would scavenge these remains. This takes me straight to Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm.
They, Brandon Fugel, the owner, he is. Uh, Anybody out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but in essence, he's basically leasing, renting cattle from ranchers that have cattle because this is a big property. There's
Mhm.
a lot of grass and stuff that grows right there. Man, what are you doing on your phone? It's
I
distracting. Good God.
I fucking turned it off.
You're
I
like
am
Mike
looking
in a
up
movie theater.
no,
Mike
I
does
am
that shit in the movie theater and he denies it. He denies it.
Okay. You know what's
Oh
the worst is
man.
when someone is chewing their gum really fucking loud next to you. No, I am
Yeah,
actually
well that
looking
too. I know
I
you
had to
are.
sit next to that for 2.5 hours one time, and I literally ended the friendship over it. Um, no, I am actually looking up, like, the rebuttal for, like, what people say it could
Yeah.
be. Yeah, that's the
Oh
just
yeah,
to
yeah.
get an idea
Yeah,
to
I got you. Yeah, I'm just giving you shit.
I know, the little tick, 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 it's, like, half my nails, half my phone, and I turned
Oh,
it
no,
on to
I
silent.
don't hear it. I see it.
Oh.
like
People
like
make fun of
oh
me at work because I
yeah,
type angrily.
Stephanie's looking over there.
No,
Let me
I
just
am
I'll blink her out. No, I got you.
rebuttal
So
for cattle mutilations, because 'cause I'm just kinda curious
yeah.
what the other side has to say about
Oh
these
yeah, yeah.
things. Yeah.
Well, so this takes me to Skinwalker Ranch because
Mhm.
so they're like leasing these cows from a rancher because they have a lot of grass on the property. And there's another reason for it. If there's any activity, they want to see what the relation is with the livestock that's there. If there's any anything weird going on with them, which they've noticed numerous times. Guys, it's in their shows. Check them
Mhm.
out. They said the same exact thing. They had one cow, and this is on one of the episodes, that basically just walked away from the herd over to this like just open area, secluded from all the other cattle, kind of just weirdly laid down and died. And they couldn't figure it out. They reviewed the videos because they have cameras everywhere out there. Guess what they noticed? A UAP in the sky somewhat directly above,
What did they
which is a
say what
light.
the UA okay, okay. I was gonna say,
Well,
how did this UAP look like?
well,
Did they give a
they're
description of
lights.
that?
It's no different
Okay, lights.
than the couple I've seen around here. You don't know what it is. It's just a light,
Okay, I didn't
right?
know if they had physically
Yeah.
seen, like,
No.
a cylindrical object or if it was just a
No,
light. Okay,
it's a light. Yeah.
okay.
And so it's interesting, because they said the same exact thing. No predators, nothing would touch the carcass. Nothing would touch it. So I found in an article from Fox 26, a family from Montgomery County reached out to Fox 26 with additional mysterious animal deaths on their property. The family wanted to remain anonymous but shared images of two goats recently sliced and killed. The goats lived on the family's fenced in property. Now, this is recent around
Mhm,
this same time. So I want to go back real quick, just to the very beginning where this guy Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers was quoting some things, and he was talking about a 1976 case and that these tripod things in the ground. It did not state what his evidence was to show that he believes there was an actual craft, because he mentions in particular these tripods, these three spots on the ground where this thing landed, but the way he words it shows that he is separating the craft from the tripods, meaning there's evidence there was a craft
mhm.
and there's evidence these tripods came from the
'Cause it
craft,
didn't
two separate
say that
things.
the, tripods exited
Well, he
or
says found evidence of a triangular shaped object landing near a cow. Then some type of tripods exiting the craft, and these tripods were anywhere from blah 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 blah. Now you think tripods, that's three, right?
Mhm,
So when they hit the ground, they're going to be in the shape of a triangle. So I don't know if is his evidence that it was a triangular shaped craft is because the there was three spots on the ground, or is there something else indicating to him that there was a triangular shaped craft, right? Because
mm,
here's my thing. There's obviously no pictures of a triangular shaped craft. He didn't mention anyone saw a craft. So, if all you have are these three marks on the ground, the very first thing that comes to my mind, think about this. If you went out into a pasture and you found a cow completely separated from the herd and you're like, I'm going to slaughter this thing at midnight and freak out the farmers. Okay? Let me ask you this. How would you
that's
do it without taking the cow anywhere and without leaving a mess on the ground? If you can get a very, very sturdy, and this is something you'd need a truck for and probably some type of winch to get this thing in and out of the truck, but you have some tripod shaped device, in this case would have to be large, which according to this story was not large,
Mm,
some tripod type device that you can just easily winch the cow up on. So if the cow's out there in the field, you go cow tipping, you inject him with something to tranquilize him. He's laying there. You put the tripod
cow
over
tipping.
over the cow.
Mhm.
You strap him on this thing.
The
You
only
winch
thing
him. You winch him up off the ground. Now what you have is hopefully a body that sags a little in the middle. Now however you kill the cow, inject him with something, the blood's going to drain down to there.
cool into that middle,
you're
yeah.
open you're open to make incisions above that blood level,
Mhm,
above that sag, without
mhm.
significant blood loss, right?
Well,
Now I'm
it would
not saying
take a
that's
little
the
bit
case.
it would take a little bit for the actual blood
Oh, it would.
to
It'd take
stop
take some
moving
time.
and cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that I can think of that would be a tripod that would be like a winch type device that would be strong enough to pick that up, that would incur a dip in a body because of the 2 chains,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
is a, engine block winch.
Well, exactly. And then
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
but there's no
If it were
tire
on a
tracks, he said, that was found, and
right,
I'm
right,
looking
right.
back at that article, and he says that they, found evidence of a triangular-shaped object landing near a cow, which how they knew
Mm-hmm.
a cow was there in the first place is beyond me. And then and then some type of tripod exiting this craft. So wait, triangles exiting triangles is what I'm hearing, and
No, no, you're hearing a tripod. So you're basically what you're hearing is landing gear for a UFO. That's what you're hearing. Think of just 3 poles or something coming out so this thing can land. That's essentially what he's saying.
these tripods had left little tracks, like, all over the ground, like, so it
Right,
almost like, and they
because
followed.
yes, think about this
Yeah.
from what he says. The cow keeps walking or
Mhm.
running or whatever it's doing. So this thing lands, the cow says screw you and walks away, so it takes off and it goes to the next spot the cow stops and lands
Mm,
and it waits till
okay.
it gets it cornered or whatever. Something. That's what I get from it. Sounds
Okay.
pretty weird to me, but
Because what I get from it is little miniature versions of the aliens from, War of the Worlds,
mhm,
like, walking behind it, following it, like, "Hurry up
yeah.
and die, hurry up and die!"
Yeah.
Like,
Well, exactly, yeah. And this
that's
thing
how I'm
seems
taking it, like,
small
interesting.
because he said the
Yeah,
evidence that the tripods were anywhere from 28
to
to
4 inches.
4 inches. That's small. So
That's what she
my
said.
guess is they were very close together as well,
Mm.
which is
Mhm,
what's
mhm.
helping indicate that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really hard to understand exactly what he's talking about without pictures, because
well,
obviously just from
yeah.
the description, you and I went 2 totally different ways with
Oh, yeah,
this.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, so the other thing that's mentioned in there, he was questioned is it cults or kids? Cults has
Mhm.
been brought up throughout history with this
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and I read something recently. I don't 100% remember the whole thing, but something about how this whole cult thing with crap that was going on decades ago was almost nothing more than a myth. It was complete bullshit,
The
and it
satanic panic of the '80s, yes.
exactly, and it's
Yes.
kind of like back in the I want to say 80s or 90s, probably 90s. There was a thing out here where it like this shit wound up making it on the news where they're saying guys be careful when you're driving at night. Basically gang members from LA are stating that they're going to drive around with their headlights off,
Mm,
and if
I heard about that.
people drive by and flash their headlights at them
They turn
indicating, "Hey,
around,
your
they
lights are
they're
off,"
off.
they're going to
They
kill them.
Yeah,
It
I
turns
have
out
heard this.
turns out it was complete bullshit.
I
That
see.
wasn't a thing.
I knew it.
Yeah. So
My mom literally warned me not to flash my headlights at people
right.
at night, and I was like, "What?" She told me about that, and I was like,
Yeah.
You believe this?" But this is Carol we're talking about, so
Well, you never know. And that's the thing. You got to look at her era. When they grew up, there was a lot more trust in the government.
Oh,
Not that there should or shouldn't have been, but there
there
was a lot
I
more.
think there was a lot more trust in the general population, like, neighborly type shit as well, where it wouldn't be a problem if you were like, "Hey, your lights are off." But with, like, the immediate, like, the downfall and change of society from
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much the
yeah.
50s to the
Well, well,
80s,
well. What I'm
90s.
saying is, back then it was more of a thing to. There's more tradition. There's more history. There's more
Mhm.
set in your ways. There's more,
Yeah.
we do
God,
this.
Jesus,
You
yes.
trust the government. You're an American. You trust the government, blah, blah, blah,
America.
all that bullshit. But as we're seeing now, just through the UAP thing alone,
Mhm.
we've been lied to drastically. We see from COVID alone, we've been lied to drastically. It's
Goodness.
been proven. Like,
I'm still bitter
come
about
on.
that.
So, we're in a different day and time. So,
Mhm.
here, we'll go through a little bit of history. I'd
Yeah.
like to try to get to the to that next topic. We'll probably cut it out for a separate show for you guys, but
Eh,
let's go through the history real quick. I'll probably skip some of this, but we can't bring in these recent cattle mutilations without going over some of this stuff.
yeah, because, I
Um,
mean, I remember a lot of articles coming up,
yeah,
like, over the, like, the late 80s and the 90s, I do remember a lot of cattle mutilation, like mentionings on the news. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah, and you think
yeah,
of crop circles too.
yeah, crop circles. Saw a couple of those
Yep.
pop up on the news, and I was just kind of
Hmm.
like, I
Yeah,
immediately, since I was a child, believed these things.
if
So
I was a rancher and I had a huge ranch, man, and I at least had some money, and randomly at times crop circles are popping up on my property, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go
make money
put
off that shit.
I'm going to go put cameras on each corner of that property facing in and cover it and watch
True.
and see. So a
I would make
little bit of
money off of
history.
it. Come walk a
Yeah,
crop
why not?
circle. Yeah, I mean, like, why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's your
Farmers
property.
don't get paid enough, and also it's not going to hurt the crop until you've
Nope.
actually like pull it down. So
Nope. Yeah. Well, let's get into a little bit of the history
yeah,
here. The earliest known documented outbreak of unexplained livestock deaths occurred in 1606. Long time ago, people, in the city of London.
hmm,
Um, let's see. In some areas, it was up to 100 cattle, less in other areas. I'm sorry, did I say cattle? I meant to say
cattle.
sheep.
Hmm,
Sheep.
okay.
Um, let's see here. Nothing's taken from the sheep but their tallow and some inward parts. And then it said the whole carcasses. Oh, yeah, the whole carcasses and the fleece remaining behind. Um,
S- The
so let's see.
tallow is bone marrow, I thought. So they cracked the bones
Uh,
open to
I don't. No,
steal
no,
the
no, no.
marrow.
That's what.
Tallow is made from marrow, I thought.
No, but their yeah, nothing is. Yeah, the tallow. I don't know what tallow is, but yeah, that's
Hmm.
what was taken. So 1973 cattle deaths. December 4th, 1973, law enforcement reported a wave of cattle deaths in 7 counties across Kansas and Nebraska. Sexual organs were reported having been removed. Weeks later, it was reported 38 mysterious cattle deaths had occurred across 11 counties. Counties, not just cities, but
And that's
counties.
counties in just one
Kansas and
state.
Nebraska.
Oh, good too.
The Kansas Brand Commissioner's Office determined that most of the deaths and removal of sex organs were the result of natural causes, including predation, shipping fever, which is lower respiratory tract infection seen in horses transported over long distances or experiencing unusual or stressful events, and blackleg, which is an acute infectious bacterial disease of cattle and sheep causing necrosis in one or more legs. I'll say with the shipping fever, lower respiratory infection, um, experiencing unusual or stressful events. Well, if we're talking about cattle mutilations and if we're going to go down the trail of possible UAPs around the same time, that could technically be a stressful event.
I
If you've
mean,
watched The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, you've seen some issues with UAP and these cattle's acting really weird, doing stuff they don't do.
if I saw my friends getting, massacred and probed, I would be stressed out too.
Well, no, it's
Like,
not that. It's that when these things come around,
oh yeah,
it vibration, frequencies, whatever.
I was making a joke.
Oh, I don't know what I'd be disturbed. I might watch for a minute, depending on who the person was.
Oh no, I meant like as a cow, I'd be like, oh shit, they're
Oh
killing
yeah.
my friends. Fuck
Well,
this,
good
I'm
thing you're
out.
not a
That would be,
cow.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
humanity is cattle.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah,
So,
tallow, by the way, is rendered fat. So they basically
uh,
essentially stole the they essentially stole all of the fat and the internal organs, which to me
rendered is a
sounds,
word to be used with computers only.
there was a lot of rendering done of
Yeah.
lots of materials back in the medieval times. Like tallow
Oh
is
yeah.
something they made soap out of. So honestly, that
Hmm.
sounds like a group of super broke people were like, "Hey, this dude, screw this dude." That's what that sounds like to
Yeah.
me originally. But moving forward with the ones that we're talking about now.
Mhm. Well, let's see here. In the summer of 2019, so recently,
Mhm.
5 bulls were mutilated in the Sylvies Valley Ranch in
Mhm.
Oregon. It's estimated that
Yes.
each 2,000-pound bull was worth $6,000.
Oh yeah, they're
The
purebreds.
the FBI has made no comment on whether or not there is an investigation on the event, but the Valley Ranch offered a $25,000 reward for information on the topic. Well, I mean, I can give them information on cattle mutilations. Man,
They really
we
should
could
put a better
that'd help us
reasoning
out a lot.
for yeah.
Yeah. In most cases, mutilation wounds appear to be clean and carried out
Mhm.
surgically.
Mhm.
Mutilated animals are sometimes reported to have been drained of blood and show no sign of blood in the immediate area or around their wounds. According to Howard Burgess, nearly 90% of mutilated cattle are between 4 and 5 years old. 90% of them are 4 to 5 years old. I don't know what the lifespan of a cow is, but that's probably fairly young, assuming they're not slaughtered for our hamburgers,
I
right?
was gonna say, I think it depends on what type of cow it is. Like, well, with the steers, the bulls, like obviously they're gonna have a longer life because they're intended for breeding
Right,
purposes.
but just on average, like I'm saying, I don't know what their lifespan is, but 4 to 5 seems pretty young. I think cows
For
live
dairy cows,
longer
I
than that.
think that's young, but for steak cows, I don't think that they hit that point.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about to be slaughtered though.
Yeah,
We're
well, I
talking a
mean,
full lifespan, not
I'm
a
saying
full
I think it depends
lifespan
on the cow.
from being slaughtered.
I mean,
But
that's the
yeah,
whole
ninety
point of
percent.
cows.
So in some cases, strange marks or imprints near the site have been found. In the
Mm,
famous Snippy case, which I did not put in here, but Snippy was a horse that was mutilated, blah, blah, blah. In the famous Snippy case, there was an absolute absence of tracks in a 100-foot radius of the carcass. Even the horse's own tracks disappeared within 100 feet of the body. But within this radius, several small holes were found seemingly punched in the ground, and 2 bushes were absolutely flattened. In Rio Arriba County, New Mexico, June 1976, a trail of suction cup like impressions was found leading from a mutilated 3-year-old cow. The indentions were in a tripod form, 4 inches in diameter, 28 inches apart. See a commonality here, 28 inches, and disappeared 500 feet from the dead cow. Similar incidents were reported in the area in 1978. So, you have 2 possibilities. The most reasonable possibility, obviously, is human intervention. These are people playing some jokes here. The other possibility, which is less likely, but I'm not saying not possible,
mm.
something from somewhere else is doing this, as a lot of people believe. Okay,
Kind of hard not to, honestly. I
and
mean,
you look at things like the numbers, the 28 inches. You look at the
yeah,
tripod formations, all this stuff
that, yeah,
that
just the
can play a part in both scenarios. You could
and
be
the
looking
fact
at
that
a
it
device.
continues over the decades.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
be looking at a device to pull the cow up off the ground. You could have massive, if you pull the cow up off the ground, you can get something under it to collect the blood as it
Mhm.
drains out from your stupid incisions you're making. And then there's no blood on the ground. It's very simple. The not so simple part is lifting a ridiculously heavy animal off the ground, and
Mhm.
you're not going to need like a camera tripod, folks. We're talking something massively sturdy. Now, you want to talk
Yeah.
about no tracks found within a certain radius, as we heard in the previous story as well. Well, if you drive your device in there with a truck, it's very easy to hook 2 chains or cables on the back with some type of like brush hanging
Mhm.
on the back, a weighted brush, and you drive out and brush that shit away.
And
However, of course, you're going to see evidence of that, but they're not finding evidence of anything.
do you know what wouldn't leave evidence and would erase all tracks?
A helicopter.
A road grader.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is you're still going to have evidence of something there. You're you'll have evidence of something removing that, you know. A road grader is only so wide.
The type that you can hitch onto a truck and, like, drag behind you is, like, intended for, like, obviously just, like, personal road purposes,
Of
but
course.
they do cover all tracks,
No, no, no,
because 'cause they're
no.
wide
That
enough.
I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Oh,
saying is the thing that you're dragging
mm,
to remove those tracks, you're still going to see evidence of that. Let's say you have a 20-foot wide patch of dirt that you're
mhm,
driving on. You want to erase your tires. You tow this thing, but this big brush, whatever, behind you to remove your tire tracks. This thing's only 6 feet wide.
mhm,
You're going to have evidence 6 feet apart of a new track being made, which is the track of whatever covered up what was there. You'll see some type of formation moving with the vehicle. You're not going to see the tire tracks. You're not going to see footprints. You're not going to see shit.
but
What
you'll
you will
see
see is
the
evidence of
ground
that brush.
disturbed, yeah,
Right. So
you're
that's what
right.
I'm saying is
Mhm.
I'm sure someone's thought about that and they're looking for that stuff too. And none of it's been reported. So I got to go with what they say. Hopefully they've done their jobs. I'm not their boss. I wish I was. I'd like to go out there and see this stuff when it happens.
Yes. I would like more, photographic evidence presented on the internet as well, like, it
Oh yeah.
shouldn't be
Oh, I'm gonna give you some pictures
omitted.
too.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay,
give you some
go ahead,
pictures.
go ahead.
You'll see. Okay, laboratory reports. Laboratory reports carried out on some mutilated animals have shown unusually high or low levels of vitamins or minerals in tissue samples and the presence of chemicals not normally found in animals. Now, what I question on that, and I'm not questioning as if are they telling us the truth, I'm questioning as in I just don't know, is the lack or unusually high or low levels of vitamins or minerals. Could that be an effect of blood drainage or blood pooling in a particular area, pulling nutrients out of the tissue sample? I don't know. I'm just
Mhm.
questioning because I want to know. That's all.
No, that's
Um,
honestly a great question. I
yeah, I have no idea, but that's something to ask. However, not all mutilated animals display these anomalies, and those that do have slightly different anomalies from one another. On account of the time between death and necropsy and a lack of background info on specific cattle,
Mhm,
investigators have often found it impossible to determine if these variations are connected to the animal's deaths or not. Right.
mm,
So they don't really know. Um, in one case documented by New Mexico police and the FBI, an 11-month-old cross Hereford Charolais bull, probably pronounced that wrong,
uh,
belonging to
it's an expensive bowl.
A Mr. Manuel Gomez of Dulce, New Mexico, was found mutilated on March 24th, 1978. It displayed classic mutilation signs, including the removal of the rectum and sex organs with what appeared to be a sharp, imprecise instrument. And its internal organs were found to be inconsistent with a normal case of death followed by predation. Quotes here: both the liver and the heart were white and mushy. Both organs had the texture and consistency of peanut butter. This came from Gabriel Valdez, New Mexico police. The animal's heart, as well as bone and muscle samples, were sent. Get this: they were sent to the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory. I wonder if Bob Lazar looked at those for microscopic and bacteriological studies, while samples from the animal's liver were sent to two separate private labs. Los Alamos detected the presence of naturally occurring Clostridium bacteria in the heart, but was unable to reach any conclusions because of the possibility that the bacteria represented post mortem contamination.
Mm,
No microscopic changes of pathological significance were found, blah, 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 in the heart tissue. Samples from the animal's liver were found to be completely devoid of copper and to contain 4 times the normal level of zinc, potassium, and phosphorus. The scientists performing the analysis were unable to explain those anomalies. Blood samples taken at the scene were reported to be light pink in color, and did not clot after several days, while the animal's hide was found to be unusually brittle for a fresh death. The animal was estimated to have been dead for about 5 hours, and the flesh underneath was found to be discolored. None of the laboratories were able to report any firm conclusions on the cause of the blood or tissue damage. At the
Okay.
time, at the time, it was suggested that a burst of radiation may have been used to kill the animal, blowing apart its red blood cells in the process. Keep in mind, um,
That has
it
to
was
be
that was just a
intense.
suggestion, just a suggestion. Okay, this hypothesis was later discarded as subsequent reports from the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory later confirmed the presence of anticoagulants in samples taken from other cows mutilated in the region.
That makes
Well,
sense. I was
I don't.
kinda thinking that about the whole, like, light
Well, hold
pink
up.
blood and not coagulating, because that's
Yeah,
exactly what an anti-coag would do.
well, hold up. Because Los Alamos disregarded that suggestion on this case because of anticoagulants found in other
Oh,
mutilations in the
got you.
region. In the
Other way.
region, at least in the region, but from other mutilated cows, not this one.
No, I got you. I was backwards.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Huh.
like you just fall down dead right now,
Boom.
right? And I come down there and take a look around and I notice that 10 people in your county were shot that night, same night. That's like saying, well, she was shot then. It's the same thing. It's like, no,
Mm,
there's no evidence of that,
right.
so I'm not happy
Hmm,
about that. So that's
hmm.
basically it for the cattle mutilations for the article. However, we're going to pull up a couple pictures, guys. You want to see some cattle mutilation pictures?
Honestly,
Uh,
yes. Even
I'm
though
talking to them, not you. You're going to see them, period.
ah,
You're going to see them,
I'm gonna
period.
answer for them. Honestly, yes.
Right. So yeah, graphic content warning, folks.
Trigger warning, trigger warning.
Could be disturbing for some. Could be amusing for others. Could be a turn on for most. Who knows? All right. Hey, people are in different things. You never
I
know, man.
I don't kink shame unless it's feet.
Let's. Oh God. Ugh, that's almost worse. Here's your first picture. Now, this is not from the recent events. This is just a
Oh,
picture from
okay.
something else, but this is the same type of deal they're describing, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and blow
That's
this up a little
not how
bit for
I
you
was
guys.
imagining the actual, like, jaw
Well,
portions,
yes,
but
this is what
that
they
makes
said. It's on
sense,
the
yeah.
side of the mouth.
Yeah, but when it
So,
said circular, I was thinking of a
no,
literal
no, no, no,
circle
no,
out
no,
of, like, the
no.
cheek.
Circular, circular. That's the anus, the rectum, genitalia. You're in the wrong area of the body.
Mm,
That's where the circular is. Not around the jaw. Was not the circular.
I
You
really
you
okay.
you need to put that PIPE down and focus, my friend.
I don't it's you wanna know what's in my hand? It's my fucking nail file, God damn it.
Your nail file wasn't a green PIPE you pulled out earlier, though.
That was earlier, this is now that's not in my
So,
hand. Because I could've swore in one of the articles it had said circular, maybe I was just assuming that it was the both of them were circular portions
no.
that were removed, okay.
So, this is not the recent events, guys, but this
Yeah.
is just a picture of
I
one
mean,
from
it's recent enough to have a decently detailed photo that goes along with it. It looks like it's
somewhat.
smiling.
Unfortunately, what you see here is blood on the ground, whereas all the other cases, they say no blood
No blood,
anywhere.
yeah.
And the other thing, I want to know what they're doing to verify they've been drained of blood. Because by making the statement that the cattle have been drained of their blood, leads me to believe that they've been taken to a lab,
To do an autopsy of
they've been
sorts.
opened up to do an
Mhm.
autopsy, and verified the blood's gone. The majority is
That's I would
completely gone.
assume that they would do that for more,
You
like
can't assume. You cannot assume anything
true.
because that makes an ass out of you and me, right? We all know that. You cannot assume. The article doesn't
I
state
would
it. You
think.
cannot assume they did that. And I
I would
agree with
think.
you. You would assume they did.
Yes.
But, we don't know who is making these statements. If the rancher finds the cow and the
Mhm.
rancher makes the statements, oh, there's no blood. They must have been drained of their blood. Now, the news article is going to say
Yeah,
they were
because
drained
they
of their
never
blood.
clearly stated who said that they were drained of their
Right.
blood.
So here's the second picture. This is the only, you're going to love this one. This
If
is the
I was
only other,
laughing, I was laughing at the first one, so let's see about this one.
this is the only other good picture I could find. Now, I will state I do not have a picture of one with the rectum and
I
genitalia
was just about to
cut out.
ask, is this the other end?
This is not. Now, this is going to be another jawline incision, as
Okay,
well as. There you go.
waiting for.
The eyeball, I would say, could look like predation other than the circular area around it. Obviously, that's not
That is
predation.
officially burned into my sight, please. Oh my god. Okay, so I don't that fear of holes, trypophobia, just got triggered like a motherfucker. And it like
Oh,
holy
I took it off
shit.
the screen. You can't see it. I'll leave it up for you guys, but
Thank
not you,
you.
Stevie. Um,
Like lotus pods? Can't do it.
yeah, it looks like that guy's missing some teeth too. But
Oh my
yeah.
god.
So the circular incision, obviously
Really
you see on
burned
this
into my vision.
photo. Yeah, obviously you see on this photos.
Mhm.
I'd say pretty precise.
Yeah,
Around the jawline is not 100% precise, but then again, I don't cut animals or people open for fun or for work, so who the hell knows? But the main circular incision that's been talked about is around the anus to remove the anus and some of the
mhm,
internals. And I would ask, what internals are being removed?
mhm,
The reason I say that would be interesting is because if we look at cattle mutilations throughout the decades, we hear about the rectum, circular incision,
mhm.
rectum being removed, as well as some of the innards. I'd like to know exactly what's being removed because it's not being stated in any of the articles.
Clearly not the
And
liver because they
and
sent
if it
samples
well,
of that
if
out.
it's well, hang on. If it's not being stated in the articles, then the public doesn't know what it is that's being removed from the inside.
Correct.
Therefore, over the decades, if these are the same pieces that are being removed from the inside from the rectum, then you may have a case for the same person or same groups of people moving around doing this
Mhm.
because it's not public knowledge. So now you can't
They
really
lead us to
say
make our own decisions.
it's a copycat because a
Mhm.
copycat would need the details on exactly what's being removed,
Correct.
right?
So
So
that leads the public to believe what they will, make their
right,
own
and it
conclusions.
still gives you two scenarios: the human scenario and the non-human scenario.
Yes.
So unfortunately it still leads us to that, but
Mm.
yeah, so those are the cattle mutilations, guys. I will state, I didn't look this up, I didn't have time, but recently we had mentioned on one of the shows, cattle mutilation was brought up briefly, and one of the people interviewed was a doctor, I believe, and they had said it actually had turned out from the cases they had looked at that they were not drained of blood and that the blood had pooled somewhere inside and the cattle were dead long enough for that to happen. Therefore, the incisions could be made after the fact without the blood loss, which means no blood on the ground or very little compared to what was being cut.
Imagine that.
So, yeah, keep that in mind.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's your cattle
Interesting.
mutilations. I don't know. What do you think? What anything odd go through your head with
I
this
mean,
crap?
uh, just like the Bigfoot and just like pretty much everything else, like I want to believe so badly, and
It's
part of
aliens.
yeah, and part of me does,
Yeah.
just because there are some odd similarities, like the 4 inches, 28
Mhm.
inches, the triangles, the
It
particular
also points to the
sections.
same people doing this shit over the decades. It also
True,
points to that.
it does. It really does. Just because like I really like I don't know. If you run a road grader over dry ground, it's not gonna make a difference in like the areas around it. Like it will erase, all of the tracks, and it won't disturb the ground to the point where it looks different than the shit around it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen road graders go over dry ground and it looks I fucking identical. Um, but at the same time, who's really gonna like? Are you really gonna put that much effort into it? Like that
Yeah,
that that this
but
is
you,
so much effort to put into
whereas
a.
I said on the graders and covering up your tracks, you got to
Mhm.
remember we're talking about big open pastures,
Uh,
areas where it could be a
Yes,
lot of dirt or grass. You're gonna see evidence of
that's what
something
I'm saying.
brushing away the
Oh yeah, that's
tracks.
what I'm saying. Like if
You
it was on
know?
dry ground, I would totally
Yeah.
understand the use of it. But since it's obviously in pastures and not, that takes away from the it could
Right.
be humans and is like kind of like a check mark in the it could be aliens box for me. But like
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like if it was the correct conditions, I could understand how they could erase
Yeah.
tracks, but not in
Yeah.
every scenario, which is
Yep.
kind of, yeah. So I want to believe so strongly that it's aliens, and there's little things here and there that make me feel like it is because it just takes away from the human part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think to myself, like, why the fuck do aliens want anything to do with cow butts? What the fuck is so cool about cow butts?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you because I've
that's
seen cow
that's
shit,
and
and
that's like a huge check
woo,
mark in the human box for me because it's like I just don't
yeah.
understand why aliens would be so fucking interested in cow butts.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of aliens, real quick, I want to bring up a quick point that I've kept hearing and makes total sense. And, I didn't
Mhm,
create this idea, but I completely agree. Yeah, I've thought of this before too, but, you always hear people saying, what would these super highly advanced aliens with this insane technology, why would they waste their time with us and humans and taking humans and blah, 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 blah. And as I've thought before, and as someone has pointed out recently within the community, more scientific, right?
mhm.
They're saying, what exactly makes you think they're so much more advanced than us? Think about this. Hold on, think about this.
I'm holding.
Let's say we were not on Earth. Let's say our
Mhm.
life formed in, let's say the on Zeta Reticuli. Okay, let's say we were
Testicular
there.
is funnier, I'm sorry.
There's a good chance, right, that if a planet over there were habitable,
Mhm,
life that formed would not look like us. It would look
mm-mm,
different. Okay,
mhm,
we would wind up having different minerals. We'd have different elements. We'd have different materials available to us to create different things. These, let's say, aliens, if they're real, doesn't mean they're more advanced than us. They may have access to other materials that allow them to create technologies that we just cannot create because we don't have the needed material, the needed items to
mhm.
do so.
The only
It's
thing
that
that
simple.
yeah, I mean, totally get it. I think just when we say that they are like more intelligent than us, so why would they come to us? Is because we are basing our concept perceived idea of intelligence on what we know, which is only
Of
ourselves.
course, of course.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
it could very well be that they just it's like, they don't have the architecture, not architecture, or
right.
the infrastructure. There we go. That we have, like say cities or utilities or anything like that, harnessing power.
Right?
Yeah. So who's to say they don't have things like that? But they do have obviously interdimensional planetary travel. But at the same time, that
Yeah,
just
but
sounds
look,
so out there.
if we had the necessary materials and items needed to do that,
Mm.
we'd already be doing it,
Oh
right?
yeah,
But
for
we
sure.
wouldn't be any more advanced as a human
Mm,
than we are now. We could do it if we had the necessary
right.
things available,
Yeah, no, I'm
and
agreeing with you
and
completely.
if light speed travel or faster or whatever is actually a thing and it's true,
Mm,
we could do it, but we don't have, to our knowledge,
yeah.
what's needed to do those types of things. Hell, to get into space, Elon Musk had recently said, I had heard something with him, on an interview. They're like, when are we looking at other types of power, fuel, to get us into space? So we're
Mhm.
not. He's like, we won't. We'll always rely on this type of fuel to get into space. He goes, it's different than an airplane. An airplane, you can use a propeller. You can use a different form
Mhm.
of fuel to power the propeller
Mhm.
to pull or push. With a rocket, with the amount of power needed to get out of Earth's gravity and into space, you have to be blowing something out the back to do it. You have to expel something to create that.
Yeah.
He goes, we you need an explosion to do that. We're not going to get that with nuclear or anything else. He goes, you need the oxygen,
Mhm.
you need all this stuff to do that. According to him, he said that's not possible. We're always going to rely on this to get into space.
Mhm.
True or not, maybe there's something we don't know yet. But yeah, just interesting.
I'm completely agreeing with you, but it's just
Yeah.
based on the human concept of intelligence and advancement. That sounds more advanced than obviously us, just because we can't at this time. But
Right, but if
or
you
they're
think about
just
it,
coming to check us out because they're like, look at this fucking weird ass planet. Let's go take a trip to Earth. Like, we could
I
just
think
be a
they'd be bored by
vacation
now.
spot.
Hey, look, this shit's been going on
Look.
for thousands of years. We
Yeah.
have evidence that similar things have been
Maybe
seen
we're
thousands of years
interesting.
ago.
Maybe we're an up and
No.
coming planet and they're like, hey, let's check out where they're at now. It's been about 1,000 years since we visited them. Like, I don't know. It could be so many different reasons as to why aliens visit us,
I
whether
think
it's
the
out of like
biggest
amusement or
yeah,
interest or like learning
if they're
or
real,
conquest.
if if they're real, I think the most evidence would point towards we are a creation or an offshoot of them placed here.
I, Jesus, that's another story for another time.
Oh, it is, but
I
that
have
I
been
mean, it
saying
points
that
to
for
that.
fucking years. I've been saying
Yeah,
that for years.
it
My
really points
religious
to that.
friends hate me for it.
Look, look,
Shit.
look, we're trying to do the same goddamn thing right
Mm,
now. Elon's trying to get to Mars and build a fucking colony on Mars. Possible? Maybe. But the amount of shit we would have to take there, you'd be
mhm,
talking about rocket launch after rocket launch after rocket launch. You'd have to be talking about building a new space station that can
mhm.
accommodate building an
Yes.
actual craft out there to take all this shit in
I
one
believe
trip.
what you're talking about is a show called Gundam, and it's already gone over all of that. So yeah, no,
Well, right. I've
my
never even heard
anime
of that,
fans
but
will understand. But no,
but
like there's
yeah,
like the idea of like space living and being like alien in an essential like yeah eventually they would become a completely different race, like they would be
right.
Martians, because like even in Gundam, it's an anime, highly recommend it. It's been around since the 70s. uh like there is a ever growing tension between Earth people and space people, and
Hmm.
eventually I could totally see that as like them parting ways officially, and space people being like, we're gonna take off, and they
Yeah.
eventually in
Who
time forget of the other branch where they came from.
who's to say that we are nothing more than an evolutionary change
Hmm.
of something else that was placed here doing the same thing we're trying to do. It looks
Yes.
to us our planet's in distress. Let's see if we can populate somewhere else. Hey, look, Earth's a little different,
Exactly.
but they have an atmosphere. We can, whatever works,
Mhm.
right? So we put our
And
people there, and slowly they evolve over time, and now we have us.
not
Who's to
only
say that's
that,
not the case?
but,
And
like,
then
who's
their
to say
world
they didn't
never,
send more over time to
and
advance
their,
them? Because like,
well,
all of a
yeah,
sudden
and
we have, like, Neanderthals or,
hmm
the demis. Oh my god, that's another like, a different version of the Neanderthals, like, who's to say that they
right,
didn't, like, engineer what was already here with them over a period of
yep,
time, creating all these different humanoid into Homo sapien type, things
right,
that like obviously, we've never found a missing link because it might just be a genetically engineered thing, you
right,
know?
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of the, if you're gonna say that aliens are possible, are
Mhm.
possibly real, And not that there isn't life out there. I believe there's life out there, right? But that it's been here, that it
Oh,
is here,
God,
then
yes.
if you look at that as possibly true, then there's a lot of evidence pointing towards we were created, and I'm not talking to God. We may have
Mhm.
looked at it as a God, but we may have been placed here, you know?
Yeah, and helped
Possible,
along. I
you know?
really feel like we've been placed here and helped along by them this entire time. Like, there are literal stories of African tribes and, it wasn't the Babylonians, it wasn't the Mesopotamians, Sumerians, there we go. They
Mhm.
have stories of the same type of people who come from the sky, and there
Yeah.
is absolutely no relation. There was a show that was done to prove that there is no relation between the Sumerians and this African tribe who have the stories of the same people from the same sky. These are
Yeah.
the same tribe in Africa that taught
Well,
white man about Sirius A and B like years before we even knew they existed.
forget the Sumerians and, the other one you mentioned. The shit's been found all over the goddamn world.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's,
Come on.
alien-shaped
I mean,
heads
wake up.
on, uh,
Wake up. Wake up. And I'm
in
not
the
saying you wake up.
Mayans. No,
Yeah, I'm not
anyway,
saying you wake up, and you guys out there, I'm not saying wake up, but just in general,
yeah,
people, wake
people.
up. They
Yes, yes.
are the people digging this shit up and looking into this and studying it. The government, they're always going to tell you whatever to appease you. They always do. It's proven. They always do. They want to keep the masses down so we don't revolt. Fine.
How's that
Look at the
working out for you,
goddamn
France?
look at the goddamn evidence. Okay,
Mhm.
we're at a point in time, at least with the UAP thing, and this was stated. I saw it on a show the other night. They stated it. We're at a point in time where if we want the answers, we need to come together. We need to study whatever it is, and we need to get our own goddamn answers and not rely on them. There's a lot of stuff they're not going to release just because of national security reasons alone.
Oh, yeah.
Totally understandable.
Mhm,
So the only other way is for us to actually do the work and figure the shit out.
mhm,
Then,
mhm, mhm.
you know, they'll realize their mistakes and then they'll switch it up and we'll become like some other countries and we'll hate life.
So no comment. So, let me pull something up for you real fast, in regards to the whole coming together, finding our own information. In regards to, that particular person that we were talking about the other day, don't wanna say too much. Do, do,
hmm
do, do, do. Where is it? There was a particular
Stevie
group.
loves her phone, guys. You haven't noticed. She doesn't use her computer, so it looks like she's looking at you or me. She loves that phone.
I am missing 2 nails currently, so
Oh,
typing
God.
typing is really hard because, like, my muscle memory is
Yeah.
all fucked up now,
Hey,
but,
I guess it's a good thing I'm doing most of the talking, right? But then again, you guys probably rather see her talk, not me.
I'd typically rather see you. I was checking out
No, I'm a
at
guy.
at this time, as of April 30th, which is when we're recording, your personal story video has more views on it than any
Yeah,
other video by far on the
I think
channel.
it's because it's a personal story, and you know what?
I think so that
Hey,
throws your whole like it's they want to listen to a girl talk right out the
no,
window.
no, no, no. I think
Gone.
that's because it's a personal story, guys. Real quick, that's a good segue into
Move on.
if you have a personal story, send it to obscuredr1 at gmail.com. If you have a personal story, type subject story in the subject. Send us your personal stories. We want to put them out there for you. We will do it anonymously.
Mhm,
You can call in, which isn't call in as we stated last show. Stevie, thank you. What this is going through a website. So we jump on. We simply send you a link, and I believe that you can do this from your phone or
mhm.
tablet as
It's like
well.
Teams but cooler.
Yeah, it's a lot better. If
Mhm,
you have a computer, that's going to be the way to do it because it locally records
mhm,
on your device. That way, there's no interruptions. So I may see Stevie freeze up because of her crappy internet connection. Just kidding. She doesn't have a crappy internet connection. But the point is, if she froze up right now, you guys aren't going to see that. You're going to see it as if it never did because it
mm,
locally records for her, right? So you can call in that way, audio only or
mhm,
video as well.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Anonymous is fine. You want your face out there, that's fine. You want your name not revealed, that's fine. You want it revealed, that's fine. It's completely up to you. But we want to share your stories, whether we tell them or not. And I would love for a ton of what we do to be those, because to me, that's important, especially with what's going on right now. And that's why I'm willing to put my stories out there. However, we look at them, at least my stories,
Mhm.
in the sense of, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's reasonably look at this, critically think, and see, could it really not be this or that, or could it really be something else? You know, and send them over. Because no joke, send them over. We want to do them. What's up? You're smiling. You're laughing.
Just because like what we do with the whole, personal stories, call in, we want to hear them, we want to talk about them, we want to tell them. That goes right back to what we were talking about with finding our own information, because we won't get answers obviously from the
Right.
government, or at least the answers that we're looking for. They're just going to give us more information that's going to cause more questions and not so much answers. The person that we were talking about the other day is part of well, not a part, but was interviewed by something called MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network,
Right.
which is a civilian based network and grouping of stories and things like that, where
Mm.
like pretty much any encounter, if the person wishes to, you know detail, like describe it down, it's put here.
I reported my biggest personal story
Mhm.
about that major light in the sky to
Mhm.
them.
Oh yeah,
I
okay, so you
will
already know.
Yeah, I will say I was very unhappy.
Really?
100%. I was
What?
not happy with the response because I had a witness, our friend Mike. He's
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about it on the show when we went through the story. He saw a portion of it, a fragment, and for that reason, as well as one other reason, I did not put his name in there. I just said that someone else saw it with me.
Mhm.
So there's a few reasons why I didn't list him.
Mhm.
And one of those being that he only saw it for a little bit because he ran too far into the street. So he lost it behind some stuff, right?
Got you.
So he didn't see the entire event, especially the ending. And the person that emailed me back,
Mm.
because I wouldn't give them that person's name, nothing. They said, basically, without saying screw off, they said screw off. They wouldn't talk to.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very disappointed, highly
Damn.
disappointed.
I,
I was like, wow, because I described this shit in detail and given my history with aircraft and all that stuff and
right.
what I know and what I don't know, which most of us know anyways. We're not stupid. And because of that, because I didn't list him as a witness, if I didn't do that, they basically never heard from him again. They said nope. I mean, it's on their site somewhere. Other than that, yeah, I
What
was I
the
was deeply
fuck?
disappointed,
That's
very
okay.
disappointed.
Wow, that just
Yep,
totally shatters the whole like, oh, look at this
yep.
answers, or a place where we can start looking for answers, and then it shits on you. And I'm like, let's
Yep.
just stay quiet over
E
here now.
exactly. No, say
That
say what you were gonna say,
no, that's
but
upsetting, because like that, I had a lot of hope about like that could possibly be the first place that like civilians can start going to like get answers, obviously from each other. There's over 4,000 members. It's been a thing since 1969. But for them to,
no, no, nope.
for,
I 100% disagree. I'm gonna tell you
no,
exactly
I'm just
why.
saying, but for them to crap on you like that just totally
Yeah,
takes that completely
num
away.
number 1, you said they've been around since '69 and they only have 4,000 members. That right there to me is like, wow, they should be bigger. Tells me they're not doing something they should be doing. Number 2, um,
Worldwide, 4,000 worldwide.
yeah, that's nothing,
I am
man. I
looking at
mean,
their
most
about
of these
me
YouTube
page.
channels have more than that, right? And the other thing is, I had watched a program on this once, and some people that used to be in MUFON, and one guy who was able to get higher up, and this and
Mm,
that. There's a particular person that's not really in MUFON anymore that was like heading it up or something at one point, but they are still affiliated, and it has to do with money or something, and they want some control over stuff. And this person that is no longer with MUFON, that was moving up within MUFON, he
mm,
wanted to do things in a very particular way. scientifically really try and figure this shit out.
Right.
He said, this guy is still voicing his opinions and running the show behind the scenes, even though he's not part of it. I'm out. And they said, bye. Yep. So I am not a 100% fan of MUFON.
That
I think
upsets me
it's a
greatly.
place to go record your thing
Mm-hmm.
to get it recorded, because mine's still there somewhere. I know
Yeah.
that last time I looked. Other than that, um, I would not rely on the
Yeah,
MUFON, especially 4,000 members. But you know what? You can't even pull up their goddamn map anymore. Last time I looked, you can't even pull up the map and find shit. You have to pay. You have to pay to do that shit now.
Mm.
Last time I looked, anyways, which was a while ago. Whereas before that, you didn't have to. So it's
I'm
just all about money
assuming it
and
would definitely still be like that.
oh,
See, I'm
well, I'm
not
sure.
even gonna bother to
Yeah.
click because
Yeah, so I am deeply disappointed with my
that's a
experience. That was
bummer.
complete bullshit.
That is a fucking
Yeah.
bummer because I was like when
Yep.
I heard about them, because like especially now that this has come up, like they've come up a couple of times, and then
Yeah.
after it being mentioned about our particular person, like I was like, oh, but to hear
Mhm.
your experience, it's like, oh,
Yeah, I
well
mean, but
then,
there's people
never
doing
mind.
but you know, on the opposite side, there's people with them doing real work.
Mhm,
They're using their own time, their own effort, their own money to go out and investigate some of this stuff.
mhm.
And you know, I give those people props. It's
It's
just as
always
a
the lead.
whole.
It's usually the leaders that are the
Yeah,
corrupt ones.
right. It's like looking at your congressmen, your congresswomen, right, from all the states, and they go to these hearings at the White House or the Pentagon or where the hell they do that shit. I forget. I'm not a political person, guys.
I don't know. They
It's
work
it's like
100 days a year, so
yeah,
who knows who
it's
they
like
work or
they're
where.
sitting there fighting for you. They're bringing up the real issues. However, it gets tamped down at the higher government level,
Mm.
right?
Oh,
It's the same type of
absolutely.
bullshit, is
Mhm,
what I get. But
mhm.
yeah, so yeah, that's it. Cattle mutilations, guys. Here we are, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years later, and the shit's still happening, guys. Enough that it's in the news now. Given recent events, given what's happening on Skinwalker Ranch, given that they've had this happen on video, somewhat. Um, I'm not going to jump to any conclusion. However, we look at the evidence and we see, where does this take us?
I know
And
where
I
it
don't
would
know
like
where the
you.
fuck it takes us.
It takes me to being just as confused and split about this decision as I have ever been. It didn't help me go one way or another.
Yes, but I'd like to point out one thing, and I'll try to make this quick. I don't need to keep going on this, but these cases, what did I say? Let me get back to the history here.
Mm.
The earliest known documented outbreak. This is the earliest known documented outbreak of unexplained livestock deaths occurred in early 1606, so early 1600s. Okay, think about this. If it's human, then you're having particular people pass down a tradition of doing this to others that are continuing to do it. And you got to think about something like mutilating livestock going on for that long.
If
We're
it
talking
is
four or
people,
five
I
hundred
hate
years.
them. If it's one first, fuck your tradition. That's not a tradition. Second off, that's someone's livelihood that you're like
Hmm.
destroying. Like those
Yeah. Well,
bulls
you know what we
alone.
really need to do before these cattle are disappeared, taken to do autopsies and shit?
Mm,
We need to get at least 1 to 2 scientists out there,
mm.
and we need to get 1 to 2 very professional, very smart, very careered detective type law enforcement out there.
I think a
And they need
veterinarian should go out as well.
and they need to do a very, very, very good assessment of the entire surrounding
Mm.
area to cover all
Treat
bases.
it like a freaking crime scene. For I mean, if it was a
Exactly,
human,
exactly,
it is a crime
exactly.
scene. Why
Yeah,
is it not a
100%.
crime scene just because it's an animal? It's an animal
Yeah,
that
and
like was unexpectedly
a
and unexplained like mutilated.
and
That should be
apparently
taken more
the
seriously.
and apparently the animal's life is worth more than ours because 'cause they're worth 6 grand.
I know, and that's
I die.
probably
No, only if I've been paying into fucking life insurance.
ooh. Man,
So
I
so we need this to happen.
don't know what
If we
I'm worth.
really want if we really want answers, we need that to happen. That
Yes.
way everything in the area can be studied and then down to the cattle. Even maybe performing a some basic form of autopsy right there just to see
Mm.
what's I don't know, but
No, I
that's
agree.
my
I
deal.
completely agree. It needs to be treated as such that it is. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
especially if it's a
yeah.
$6,000 bowl, why wouldn't you treat that whole scenario with more of a what the fuck's going on? I want answers type of mentality.
Yeah, and that's the thing with what's going on right now, UAPs and all this bullshit happening.
Mm, mm,
Now's the time because obviously they're going to report this in the news, whereas prior to right now, they haven't been reporting this stuff,
mm,
at least not nationwide,
correct.
So is what it is. Guys, like, share, subscribe,
Comment
please.
down below.
Comment down below. Stephanie keeps harping on some bell. I don't have a bell.
The bell you always forget about, that bell that you need to click so that you should get the alerts every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for every new episode that comes out.
Yeah, we'll let you know if that time changes. We don't have enough data in yet to see what's best for y'all. But
So
yep,
keep watching, keep commenting, subscribing, just interacting with all the
yeah,
videos really helps us so that way we can create a better show for you.
yep, 100%.
Yep.
With that, we're out.
Peace out.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.